gut health. The term gets thrown around pretty often. But what does gut health even mean? And why is it becoming a growing problem for both humans and pets? Well, for starters, 70% of the immune system is found within the gut. So this basically means that if your pet gets sick easily or suffers from allergies, this could be due to an unhealthy gut. And it's not just the immune system that's affected. Other problems like gastrointestinal upset, weight issues, behavioral problems, and even bad breath can be a sign that the gut isn't as healthy as it should be. So, what are veterinarians doing to treat their patients that have an unhealthy gut? Well, unfortunately, not much. Because the gut is almost always overlooked when treating these health issues. I've worked in the veterinary field for a number of years, and I saw firsthand what it actually meant to treat a sick pet. Not a day would go by without at least one dog or cat coming in with diarrhea. And after our typical protocol of testing the stool for parasites and ruling out if the pet got into something toxic, we just sent them home with antibiotics. And we handed them out like candy. Now, diarrhea can be a pretty obvious sign that something's not quite right with the gut. But some other health issues aren't so obvious. Take allergies, for example. Whenever an owner would bring in their itchy pet to see the veterinarian, the go-to protocol for this was either daily allergy medication or a monthly injection. These are both incredibly expensive, with one pill being almost $3 each and the monthly injection being over $100. And if things couldn't get any worse, a common side effect from these treatments is GI upset. So not only is this an expensive treatment, it can also negatively affect the pet's gut. Now, vets are only trying to help, but if the root cause was more of the focus, maybe owners wouldn't have to deal with such expensive treatments in the first place. So what's going on in our pet's gut anyway? And how is it affecting their health so much? Well, the answer lies in something called the gut microbiome. Inside your pet's gut is a wondrous world of microorganisms like bacteria, yeasts, and even fungus that thrive off of the foods that your pet eats. And surprisingly enough, your pet relies on them to survive just as much as they rely on your pet. Studies on the gut microbiome of mammals estimated that there's over 1 trillion total microorganisms in the intestines, which is 10 times the amount of cells in the body. Now, there are certain pathogenic bacteria that make us and our pets sick, and these are what we call bad bacteria. But some of these bad bacteria strains are still beneficial to the body because they share a balanced relationship with other strains in the gut. It's only when too much of one strain populates the gut that problems start to occur. But there are other strains of bacteria that are considered good bacteria. And these specific strains help food digest properly and influence and improve the immune cells, which make the immune system stronger. So the balance between all of these bacteria strains is what keeps the gut so healthy. But there's a big problem within our pet's gut today. Many factors in life are starting to knock it out of balance, causing many different health problems, and nobody is realizing it. What could be doing this? Well, a huge factor is the very thing that keeps your pet and its gut bacteria alive: the diet. Canines, felines, and mustelids are carnivorous species, so they thrive on a diet of mainly animal-based ingredients. However, the bulk ingredients in today's pet foods are starchy carbohydrates like rice, potatoes, and flour. These starchy carbs break down into sugar during digestion. And studies have shown that sugar not only reduces certain beneficial bacteria, but it also leads to metabolic diseases, diabetes, and obesity. Something else that disrupts the gut microbiome are medications. Remember those antibiotics that I said veterinarians handed out like candy? Well, since antibiotics are designed to kill bacteria, they can severely harm the gut microbiome because they end up killing the good bacteria too. But what if a time comes where our pets need medication? Or worse, their gut has already been disrupted and they're having diarrhea, allergies, and even starting to behave differently. Is there any way to save their gut and stop this from happening? Actually, there are a few ways, and one of the biggest ways is to improve their diet. Canines, felines, and mustelids have a short and acidic digestive tract that's designed to digest foods like raw meat, organs, eggs, and fish. So, feeding a more species-appropriate diet will provide beneficial bacteria naturally and greatly improve their gut health. Another way to bring the gut microbiome back into balance is to add beneficial bacteria back into the gut. And a super simple way to do this is through fermented foods. These are foods or drinks where good bacteria has been added to it. These good bacteria break down the food into organic acids, which also enrich the food with diverse flavors and textures. And one of my go-to fermented foods for my pets is plain kefir, or fermented milk, since it's an animal-based ingredient. I usually can find plain kefir at grocery stores, but I always prefer buying it from local farmers if I can. It's also super simple to make yourself. When I feed kefir, I like to give a small splash in the morning. I used to be wary of feeding cow kefir because I knew many pets are lactose intolerant. However, during the milk's fermentation process, most of this lactose will be destroyed. So lactose isn't something that you have to worry about, unless your pet is highly sensitive to dairy. Okay, well, what if your pet is sensitive to dairy? Or maybe you just can't find kefir. What do you feed in this case? Well, there are a couple of options. The next one is called soil-based probiotics. Soil-based probiotics are much more resilient than lacto-based probiotics, which are in kefir, because of their seed-like structure. This allows them to survive harsher environments, both in the outside world and in the gut. These soil-based organisms are naturally found in the earth, and are what your pets would come in contact with if they lived in the wild, whether that be from sniffing the ground, burying their prey for later, or when foraging. Now, just a quick note, it's important not to overload the gut with bacteria. Certain health issues like SIBO would actually get worse if you added in more bacteria. So it's best to only feed one probiotic source at a time and rotate when you can. In general, soil-based probiotics are a much more natural way to provide probiotics to the gut. So I swap kefir out with this pretty often. Now, in terms of other options to feed, there's actually something both kefir and soil-based probiotics lack: prebiotics. Prebiotics are not bacteria at all. They're actually the foods that the good bacteria inside the gut like to eat. And these are specific plant fibers like dandelion greens, Jerusalem artichoke, and apples, to name a few. Now, canines, felines, and mustelids wouldn't naturally be eating a lot of fruits and veggies, but they would be intaking the fermented grasses and herbs within their prey's gut from time to time. But instead of making you go out and hunt some rabbits so you can feed their gastric contents, I'm going to suggest a product that's basically the same thing. And this is the Fermented and Freeze-Dried Greens by Gussie's Gut. It's a ground-up blend of nutrient-dense herbs, fruits, and veggies that serve as a prebiotic, and it's fermented, so it also provides probiotics, similar to the gastric contents of a prey animal. Something else that I really like about this blend is that it's freeze-dried, so storing and traveling with it is super easy. I like rotating between different bacteria strains for variety, so I'm happy to feed the superfood when I'm taking a break from kefir and soil. If you'd like to try Gussie's Gut out, my discount code is provided below.